So I got a meeting with Steph Curry and Aisha. We left their house and I tweeted that out. And it got picked up by SB Nation, Washington Post, that type of viral marketing that happened organically for us because I didn't have it all out on a business plan.
It's about having an impact on the world that changes things or makes things different or creates good jobs for people.
The types of people that we want to circle ourselves with are the people that are there for us in the highs and the lows.
You got to believe in yourself and you got to be willing to put in the hard work and just take whatever comes your way and know that you're going to get through it. Welcome to the Built to Lead podcast, where we try to give you leadership and business advice that's helpful to you and bring you good guests that can entertain and educate you at the same time. Today, I have with me a good friend, a beautiful silver fox of a man as I look deeply into his eyes right now. And also a quality entrepreneur, a husband, father, and a brand builder. And I think that's what we're going to talk about a lot today is just building a brand and how awesome that can be and what it can do for your business and the challenges also that you face when that maybe comes first rather than along the way. So I would like to introduce to you today, Tyson Leavitt.
Appreciate it, Jory. I'm happy to be here. Usually Audie's with me.
Yes.
But she's busy building the brand right as
she's speak. Literally, you said she's literally filming today.
She is filming right now.
Yeah, I texted you this morning. It'd be great if she could come. She always adds an extra fun flavor to the conversation.
Yeah, she is. And she schedules out to get her filming done, and we've got a photographer there or a videographer that is shooting her, and they're busy doing that.
It's the problem with having it actually. Well, if you run your schedule tight and you're a very productive person, then these whole like impromptu things, it's not as easy to do it, right? So.
Yeah, totally. But there's got to be flexibility in our lives.
I really struggle with that. Like, what's the right amount of being booked and the right amount of white space left for whether it be processing or just having open room to like meet someone who calls that needs to chat or have a phone call midday or whatever. Yeah. It's always hard. Even today, like I had a guy reach out this morning that I really wanted to talk to, and I was like looking through my schedule and I'm 2 weeks from now we could talk. Yeah. Which is ridiculous, right? Anyway.
Well, I mean, the problem with that is it doesn't leave room for opportunities that sometimes are time sensitive. Right? Like if you schedule yourself every single hour, every single day, you don't leave room for the organic things that happen. Yeah.
And do you need that? Right? Like what I've actually really discovered is that I struggle because you go from thing to thing to thing to thing, and they're all pretty high thought, high value conversations because you're trying not to waste your time on things that don't matter, but you don't leave enough time to process those things. So you get to the end of the day, your mind is fried.
Totally.
And you don't end up processing. Like you literally get home late for dinner, have dinner, and then we're running kids around. And like, I just don't have time to process things. And my mind is just like a battlefield of things going on inside and like trying, again, thank you for the subconscious mind that solves things when you're not thinking about it. But it can be a lot sometimes. Yeah. And this is life of entrepreneur though. You got thing after thing and problem after problem, and you have to solve these problems, and they can be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, it sure can.
Yeah. So Tyson, you own and operate with your family and with Audrey, Charmed Playhouses and Charmed Resorts. Tyson at Charmed Playhouses has done and built some really flippin' epic and amazing, mystical, magical things, and for some really cool people too, which I'll maybe let you lead with some of the early days. Tell us about the early days of Charmed Playhouses.
Jeez. Oh man, at this point, so we are now going on to our 10th year with this company.
Is it 10 already?
10th this month, actually.
Wowzer. Good for you guys.
We incorporated it. We made it. We made it 10 years.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I hope not, because there was some rough years in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like I would say that where we are today is largely accidental because we started this company really. My journey started 20 years ago when I was a college student. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to own and operate businesses. And my wife was in school to be a nurse. And so I started to do some stonework on houses and do some landscaping. And as I was working for different clientele, they would ask me to do, something that they needed done, because there's always a demand for people who can do labor and do it well. So my company kind of evolved from being a masonry company into a landscape company into like an entire landscape related industry where I was doing concrete work. I was doing, construction on houses, and I was doing the full landscape jobs, where the landscaping became more and more intricate. And during that time, I've always kind of had a creative bug in me. I knew that I loved businesses, and so we would go and we'd build things that a lot of parents would request for themselves, which is like fireplaces or pizza ovens or other kind of cool backyard stuff. And in March, we would always go to like a home and garden show. And so we would take our landscape company in and we would build like these extravagant displays.
Yeah.
So 11 years ago in that home and garden show, we said, okay, we want to do something that really blows the socks off people. We had won that show every year that we were in it as the best in show. Because when I attack something, I want to do it the best I possibly
over the
can.
top. Yeah.
Over the top, right? Because you don't get attention for anything just doing it mediocre.
No, it's the wowing experience is what I call it. It's like, unless people are saying wow or that's impressive, if their eyes don't get big when they see it, they're not going to remember. They don't care. And they're definitely 100%. Not going to tell other people about it.
100%. You have to have shock value, unfortunately, for your company to do well.
And the world's so loud now. Yeah. Like there's so many things. We have social media. It's like if you take the phone and the video away, you don't see the things. But now everybody sees everything everywhere all the time. And so what's really wowing anymore?
Yeah. And even more so now, right? Like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, like it was earth shattering for me to take my truck and completely wrap it in leaves and my name all over it. And so that built my brand with my landscaping company, where we became a credible force in Lethbridge just because of how I wrapped my truck. So fast forward, would have been probably 2014. I decided, okay, the show this year, I'm going to do something that is geared towards children, unlike the years previously, which was always for parents, because I thought, like, who uses the backyard the most? It's mostly the children.
The kids, yeah.
Right. So why am I not advertising that to our community? So I built this tree house where I had a trunk instead of buying like a real trunk that was cut down from a redwood tree or something. I manufactured one out of foam and then hard coated it with a polyurethane, which is like a truck bed liner. And then I built this wonky structure on top that was all twisted. The roof was twisted. The floors were twisted. Everything was twisted except for the standing floor. It was flat. And I sat down on top of the trunk and I put it in the home and garden show. And funny enough, that year was the first year that I didn't win Best in Show. You believe it or not. It was the first year I did not win Best in Show. But it did get a lot of attention, where I sold some playhouses and some landscaping. And over that year from 2014 to 2015, those playhouse sales came in, and I knew that I wanted to get out of landscaping. Landscaping was a very hard business to operate. It's very seasonal, obviously,
a lot of competition.
In Canada, a lot of competition, and really hard to actually staff, because you'll get kids who will come in and be summer students who will work for you, but then they take off midway through August.
Yeah, one foot out the door always.
Because they want to be on vacation for a few weeks. And so there's not a lot of loyalty to working for a landscaper for the most part. And so I knew I wanted to get out of that. And so we continued to, sell some playhouses. And I had a client who had bought a playhouse for me that I had previously landscaped for, who said, I bought this tree house from you, but I was thinking it'd be really cool if you could build me like a Rapunzel tower. And I was like, okay, I've never done that before, but let me see what I can come up with.
The yes man comes out.
Yeah, because that's literally how I built my career, was when people needed something, I filled that need because they were looking for it, and I was the guy to do it.
Most of the most successful people I know, that's how they got where they are, is they just kept saying yes and figuring it out.
Yeah. As long as you're reliable enough to actually complete what you say you will do for them, that's where you're able to build a strong name for yourself for that task.
Well, people ask you a question like that because they don't know anyone else who's actually going to do it for them, or they haven't seen it before. And so it's always something that no one else is doing almost.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, can you do this? I haven't seen other people do this. I want this. I can't find someone to do this. Well, they're providing the need. And when you say yes, whether you know if you can do it or not, but you just count and have a confidence in yourself to get it done, you're entering new markets.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and they see something in you that they have confidence to even ask you if you can do that. Right. And so I went home and I sketched on, I think I had a Galaxy Note at the time. I sketched a Rapunzel tower and I tweeted it out, or I sent it out on social media. Social media was starting to get popular at this time. And the client saw it and reached back out to me and said, yeah, that's really cool. I would love that, but I'm not going to guarantee to buy it. You can go ahead and build it if you want, but
that's
I'm not going to guarantee to buy it. So by this time, it was around September or October of 2014, and I was getting ready for the Home and Garden Show in March. I would prep months in advance for this. So we start building this Rapunzel tower in this tiny shop that I had on First Ave, downtown Lethbridge. And obviously the Rapunzel tower, if you saw it on the side of the highway at the time, it was 3 stories tall. It's like 27 feet tall.
Cool.
And so I had to build it in sections in my shop, and I moved it out to right beside the highway there on First Ave. And it was glorious. Like, this thing was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, 27 feet tall. And so we moved it into the Home and Garden Show, which at the time there was no rules as far as how big of stuff you could build.
So you're pushing the limit there.
And so we had to get, with my inexperience, we had to get a crane in between the rafters to lift this Rapunzel tower up between the rafters. I hired princesses to come in. I landscaped it so that it was like this whimsical landscaping with a creek going through it. We had fresh cookies there. I built a little dog house.
And you didn't win last year, and you're like, that's not flipping happening.
Yeah, that's not happening. I am not losing this, right? So I pulled out all the stops. We had another playhouse there that was for a tree house. And I brought in a concrete fence to back it so I had a nice background. Pulled out all the stops. I made a photo ops spot so that people could take photos in front of it and tweet it out to win the doghouse. And at this time, oil was taking a hit. It feels like oil takes a hit every 5-10 years.
Yeah.
And so Alberta was like in a panic. They were like, oh no, how are we going to make a living? People would walk into the Home and Garden Show. And for the listeners who don't know anything about Lethbridge is a little farming community. Had about 80,000 people in our town at that time, probably, maybe a little more. And, pretty conservative with how we spend our money.
Yeah,
so
that's an understatement.
People would walk into the Home and Garden Show. They would stop. You would literally see their jaw drop, and then a smile would come on their face. And then their head would just pan up because this thing was super tall. And the next question would be is, what on earth is this, and who is going to buy this? Fortunately, prior to the show, that same person who mentioned about me building the tower said, yeah, I'm going to buy that because they came to my shop and saw it. So I was able to say, oh, this is,
it's already sold.
This is a $150,000 play set. It's already sold. And that was how my company started. That was probably a pretty long story, but that's how my company started.
Which is awesome. It's wild, like, to think about, again, the artist type personality, and then taking that into the physical. It's like we've talked about this before. People can draw things, they can render things, they can do all that, but can they actually build it? And that's always the hurdle. Will they actually get a crane into the building and lift it? Like, these things seem like the insurmountable things. It's like, oh, well, you can't get a crane inside the home show thing and do this. And you went, yeah, we can.
You can't get permission.
Yeah, we can. This is the thing. Like, and I've seen you do this before. It's just like this. Yeah, we can. Like, I will figure out a way. I will overcome all hurdles and problems and strategies. There is no. I'm just going to keep plowing and keep driving and keep blowing the lid up. I'm going to be the guy that they have to make a rule for because I broke through the ceiling.
You know, and Jory, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I think through all of these things because I don't. Ignorance is bliss.
Oh, for sure it is.
To some degree when it comes to starting a business. And, you know, like you talk about people often who like build entire business plans trying to detail out exactly how their business is going to turn out. I often find, okay, that's an important thing to do, but I find that creates like a paralysis by analysis, because I'm like, okay, I see all these roadblocks that are going to happen now. I'm out. You know, like that's too much work.
Yeah, you didn't think I'm not going to be able to stack this up inside the building. You just said, well, you just didn't think about that as being a problem at all until you got there, and then you're like, oh, this is a problem, and then you just solved the problem.
Yeah, I knew how high the ceiling was. I knew I was going to build it so it would fit in the ceiling. Did I at the time think about the straps need to be up another 10 feet and that the crane's got to have some space from the jib to the top of the crane? You know, I didn't think about that stuff, but we figured it out.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's the thing is like where you're at, and I think where I'm at too in business, like you've figured out so many of those things before that you start just having confidence in yourself that you'll figure it out. Like when people go, well, what if I just go, we'll figure it out. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't help you to panic about it.
No, but the confidence helps, because that's why other people don't do things that they dream about doing, is because they see the hurdles and they give up before they get there. Yeah. That the ignorance piece of it is actually kind of a key thing. Like either you got to like be like arrogantly confident that you'll figure it out, or you just need to not know you're going to have these problems. Yeah.
Well, so I would say that the confidence that your team and the people around see in you helps to calm them down. And there's solutions to every problem.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're in a state of panic where you're just worried about how you're gonna be able to solve that, you're not going to solve it because your brain's not thinking clearly. But if you're confident that there's a solution, then you go out and go find it.
Yeah. And then you act that way, which is, this is a leadership thing. And I've talked about it recently is with, I don't know if it was on the podcast or just in conversation, but it's like, as the leader, you have to show your confidence to your team. If you waver, your team wavers behind you. And so even if you have questions or you're not sure or whatever, there's no showing this weakness in the midst of the battle or the fight. It's like, no, we're going to do this. I believe we're going to do this. I believe me. And if I believe me and I believe we're going to do this, then other people behind me can believe.
See, and it's a strange thing though, because like I grew up with a father and a mother who out of necessity had to do a lot of things on their own and had to figure out a lot of things. And that was really hard for us, right? Because my dad was a school teacher, had 7 kids. But I didn't realize at the time that watching them just figure out how to survive and how to go do things, you know, whether it's build his own house or build a side business to help provide for the family. Those are the things that actually end up help build confidence in me as an individual, that we can figure out how to do things. Yeah. And instead of just hiring people to do everything for us, it was a necessity that we figured it out as a family. And I think that's what helped put me on this path of being an entrepreneur and having the ability to be able to go create something out of thin air.
Yeah, no, so I would say, like, thinking back on your story there and watching my dad as we were growing up too, and his just get it done attitude and find a way through thought process, it definitely bleeds into you. Is like you watch someone just tackle thing after thing and problem after problem when they like the odds are against them, they don't have the education or the resources or whatever, and yet they make it, and yet they figure it out, and yet they win in the end. It makes you believe that it can be done. Like there are no unsolvable problems.
Right? And I don't want to confuse like confidence between arrogance.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, because someone who comes in with arrogance will be the downfall, I think, of a company or a family or whatever. But if you have confidence, well, confidence is usually built because you prepare before you get to that situation. Yeah, that you've put in the hard work so that you can be confident about what you're doing.
Yeah, and you know what you're capable of, and you believe in yourself and those things. We one of our values is humble confidence, right? And so it's like that's that. Okay, you can be confident but not arrogant.
Yeah.
But you need to be humble enough to know you don't know everything, and you can have something come at you that you don't understand yet, and that you are going to learn something new today, but you will overcome in the end. So it's such a dichotomy and a balance of the right mix of that as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're right. They're like the arrogant people are the CEOs that come in that say they can fix everything in these companies, and then they just crater them, right? Because they're actually arrogant. They're not humble.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. So, okay, we're continuing on with the story here. So you built the cool, amazing Playhouse, and you've sold it already, and people are starting to look at you and what you're doing in your business, and
so at this point we've made it, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's over now. Like you're the man.
I made my second and third Playhouse with that display. The first Playhouse, actually, the one that we lost the show with, ended up in my backyard. So that was, that's still my backyard. If you're in my community, you can see it. But so second and third are made. Now it is, okay, what do we do with this thing? I'm coming into this thinking, yeah, people are going to spend $20,000, $30,000 on a Playhouse. I know that my first one was like an outlier, or I believed it was an outlier with, the $150,000. But I thought, people spend that on hot tubs. Why won't they spend that on my Playhouses? And so I start going down this road trying to sell Playhouses like that. Simultaneously, as we're finishing this show, I tweeted out a picture of our Playhouse to an executive at TLC because, they had a lot of family shows on there. And I thought, maybe there's a show on there that wants a Playhouse. The executive tweeted me back. It was like at 10 o'clock at night. And he was like, hey, can you get on a messenger chat? And so we started chatting back and forth. And I went up to my wife, who, was heading to bed for the night. And I said, hey, this TLC executive wants to meet with us. And my wife, who wasn't in my business at that time, was like, no, I'm good. Like I don't want to do TV. I'm like, Audie, we're not going to get picked for a show. Like, we're here in Canada, like there's no way we're going to do a show. Just come to the interview. And so she came to the interview begrudgingly because she didn't want me to be upset that, that she wasn't willing to do that.
She wasn't backing you up.
And the TLC executive, sat and was videoing us and asking us and some questions. And he'd stop the interview and he'd say, okay, listen, this is going to some executives at TLC. I need you to pick up your energy a bit. So we'd start recording. He stopped it, I think, a second time, if I remember correctly. And basically the same thing, like, yeah, come on, pick up your energy. This is fine. I'll edit this, but let's just have some energy. So we did the interview. We got off and I said, Audie and I looked at each other and we're like, well, that's the last we'll hear of that.
Yeah.
We heard back like a week later. He's like, the executives loved it. We're going to go to do a sizzle reel. And if you're in the TV world, this doesn't happen. You don't usually get recruited by the actual production, not production, but the network. Mm-hmm. So in this case, we were recruited by the network, and they referred us to a production company. Well, the production company that they referred us to produce the sizzle reel, which is a 10-minute clip, was like not a company that aligned with our values. And so we emailed back the network and we said, we're going to have to politely decline. We're not interested in shooting content with that company. Mm-hmm. They came back, they brought another one, same thing. Like, you got to remember, my wife already didn't want to do TV. So, she's like, yeah, I don't want to go shoot it with these companies that produce these type of smut or whatever, crappy shows. So we said no twice. They finally came back and they brought a company called High Noon Entertainment, which is a phenomenal company. It does like Fixer Upper, Cake Boss.
Okay.
All these big
higher end
shows.
Stuff.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, we'll do it. So we filmed a sizzle reel. Sizzle reel went out to testing, and within 6 months, it got greenlit for 8 episodes. And at that time, like, our company was all of a sudden off on this rocket ship, because there's buzz around town about like that this company that does luxury playhouses from Lethbridge is now doing a TV show. Simultaneously, I'm working on a deal with Steph Curry to do work for him, where I reached out to him and his well, not his agent, but his wife's management company. And so we got a meeting with Steph Curry, and so there's lots of things that
just blowing up, like not out of nowhere, but almost.
Yeah, like lots of things that are happening in the company because I wasn't afraid to ask.
Well, I was just going to point this out, and again, same thing. Other guys that I know that have like taken these businesses and just to the moon all of a sudden, they did things like what you just said. Oh, I reached out to Steph Curry. Who does that? These are the things that people would go, who does that? Well, I did it. And why was that weird?
Yeah.
Like, it's not weird. It's the things that people won't do because they're just not that driven or that believing in themselves or their ability to deliver.
Yeah. So, and even thinking back to that, like so I got a meeting with Steph Curry and Aisha and their daughter Riley, and we went to their house, met them there. We filmed the interaction with us and them, and their daughter got super excited when we sketched a playhouse for them. And we left their house and I tweeted that out. Now, did I think about that whole process? No, because typically you're not going to go video. They knew we were videoing, but video an interaction with a new client and go tweet it out right after. But we did that. And it got picked up by SB Nation, Washington Post, like all these major publications throughout the United States. So now we're at a place where I've got a new TV show that's showing up. I just got the biggest star in basketball. And I've got all the major publications in the United States talking about this pony playhouse we're going to go build for
market. You could spend your whole life trying to market and never get that swing.
You can never afford that, right? Nobody can afford that type of viral marketing that happened organically for us because I didn't have it all out on a business plan.
No, you didn't plan that out step by step.
No, it was an opportunity that we had.
Yeah, you rolled with it, and you took a shot too. Like, you reached out to these people.
Yeah. And so that's where our company started to come out of the gates, just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, how many people did you have working for you at that time?
Well, so I transitioned my landscape company right over to my Playhouse company at that time. So when this all started going off, I was like, yeah, I'm out of landscape and I don't want to do it anymore. And I actually sold the assets of my company. I just dumped that company, right? Probably not the best idea in hindsight, because I had a good name for our company and I'd worked really hard on it, but I dumped it for $200,000. You know, I should have sold that for probably a lot more for what we had built.
But you had moved on.
I was mentally checked out of that. I didn't want to do that. I was invested in these new opportunities that we were going after. So got rid of that, and we brought the employees over, which with my landscape company, I had 10 or 15, depending on the seasonality. So I probably brought over 10 employees at that time. Yeah.
So 10 employees, you're blowing up. The news is picking you up. You're doing celebrity meetings. You got a TV show coming, and you're just like reeling. What are you thinking at this time?
It was bizarre. It was really bizarre because it went from like working for small town clientele in Lethbridge, Alberta, to all of a sudden I'm flying to Steph Curry's house. I'm going to his basketball games where I'm a VIP, going into the locker room and meeting with the family and friends of players. I'm in the tunnel where he shoots his shot out of, to going to a baseball game with Ryan Zimmerman, who, is a major league baseball player, and being treated like VIP, being on the field for the national anthem and doing that.
Just these crazy, like bucket list type stuff.
Like these are opportunities that, if you're a billionaire, you still can't get. Yeah. Because you can't get those opportunities unless those players want to bring you into that opportunity. And it was so bizarre to all of a sudden have, like, on social media, because social media is a big part of everything we do right from the beginning. Hence, like, the SB Nation and Washington Post and all that type of stuff. all of a sudden we getting people that are like mega stars messaging us.
Yeah, through social media. Because that is something that the way the social media is built over the last couple of decades is that celebrities are people too. Yeah. And they connect and watch and consume social media as well. And so you do have full access to them if you're interesting enough or if you have the product that they want.
They're really no different than you or I.
Mm-hmm.
They just accept maybe they have a specific skill that has been monetized.
Yeah.
You know, like big time. But
they're still human.
Yeah.
And they still want to play.
Totally normal people.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I've got funny stories of like being in their houses of things that have happened that I won't tell on air, of them just being total normal people,
mm-hmm.
which is, you know, like, it's cool that I get to be able to go to their houses and see behind the curtain
mm-hmm.
of who these people are.
Yeah. And so this is kind of what I want to get into. This is the power of branding. Right. Mm-hmm. And so you have your company name, your image, your product, which is really important, like has the wow factor. You have all these things, but then you attach social media. And there is some outlier to the timing of that because that 2014-ish, a year before, year after was when things really like a lot of the people who are big in social media now got big in that year. Like mm-hmm. 2014 was a year where the algorithms weren't blocking people from getting millions of followers overnight. I've talked to and seen interviews where other people who are like a multi-million-dollar social media following, people that monetize off of it are like, oh, I don't know if I could do it again today, because it'd be like I'd do a post in the evening and wake up and I'd have 500,000 followers overnight. And they're just like, how did that happen? But well, that's the way social media worked more back in that era.
So we haven't really experienced that
mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't very good at social media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was trying to juggle building a company, filming a TV show, doing all this stuff, and posting on social media. My wife wasn't really posting on social media at that time. And so we didn't have a big boon like that. That came much, much later
mm-hmm.
once my wife took that off of my shoulders
and started being consistent with it.
Interesting.
Being consistent with that. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you got 10 people working for you. You've built 3 Playhouses, and now you're talking to Steph Curry and star players, and I think the Kardashians at some point you were involved with.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much nobody knows that,
mm-hmm.
but we didn't end up building anything for Kim and Kanye. But we did get the experience of going out there and meeting with them and talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
She put a call out on social media,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of people tagged us in that call out.
So in brand.
Yeah. And then she DM'd us.
Mm-hmm. Weird.
And by the way, she of a lot of people that we worked with, she was actually really great. She's good. Yeah. She was very kind and, a very nice person to work with. It online persona and real life persona, a little different.
Yeah, no kidding. So anyway, it's again, for any business owner thinking about your product and thinking about your business, like for me, like I have no correlation to what you guys went through or understanding of that from our perspective, you know, as building a trucking company brand or a mechanic shop or a construction company, you know, it's very slow and organic, and I've never had any virility to anything that we're doing. But like I've talked to other people who have, and it's this crazy skyrocketing ability that it has to scale you far beyond your experience level. Whereas like with me, as I've, you know, had lots of time in the business and lots of time to build out my procedures and learn all the hard lessons at a small scale, you're now going and learning how to be an entrepreneur suddenly at an increased rapid scale. So you're getting opportunities and things that you probably never even dreamed of or thought through at any point, and now you're having to navigate that world.
Yeah, it has the ability to scale you or bury you.
Yeah. Well, and that if you can't meet the demand when the scale comes, then it will, like, that's what happens is you get buried because it shines a light on all the things you don't have figured out real quick.
Yeah. And I mean, that leads into the painful years of our lives, right? Like we were on top of the world with our filming and,
mm-hmm.
and flying all over and having all these crazy, unique experiences. Meanwhile, I had no clue what I was doing. You know, like the come to Jesus moment comes after that.
Yeah.
Right?
When you come off the cloud and you land on the ground and have to still run your business.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I got to pay for these bills. I got to pay for these employees. I've got to be able to be compliant with what I'm doing. You know, like there's so many things that happen when after that time of, we're getting all this attention, and now it's like, okay, I got to actually figure out how to run this business because it's going to bury me if I don't.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, let's keep going down the story trail here, because it's super intriguing. So you have a bunch of these meetings, you're doing all this thing. What's the next phase look like?
Okay, so we're filming, we're doing all this stuff, we're putting our all into what we're doing. But do you think I know anything about logistics and installing products in all over the United States and Canada? Do you think I know anything about, margins on Playhouses and?
Yeah, there isn't like a guidebook for that, hey?
Yeah, like I'm starting a business that, I mean, there's Playhouse businesses out there, but not to the degree that we've started, which is like over the top. This is as expensive as a house for people. Yeah. Right. And we're shipping them down the road and throwing them in somebody's backyard who I haven't visited their backyard. Right. So lots of problems, lots of stories that come along with that we won't get into today, but we're filming for the network. And at the time, we're not capturing our own content because we're like, okay, the network's filming everything. We'll have access to that information and we'll be able to put it out there. We want to keep this confidential because we want the show to be very successful. We don't want to release the spoilers of the behind the scenes of what's happening when we're going to visit the Currys or when we're going to go visit the Zimmermans or Ali Landry or any of these, high-end clientele that we're visiting. So we're not capturing any of that content. And we're basically building Playhouses for a price that is completely unsustainable. We have no clue that we're just going in the red big time with what we're doing. Yeah. So we're trying to give the best product possible for the TV show. Meanwhile, we're,
racking up bills.
Yeah. Our days are numbered. So we work really hard to get that done. The big day comes when our show is going to premiere, and we have like this big party out at our shop. The community supports us very strongly, and it was a great moment. Well, into week 2 of our show airing, my mom calls me and she says, "Hey Tyson, how come your show's not on the schedule? I thought it was airing this week." I was like, "Oh Mom, it's airing." Like they would have said something to me if it wasn't airing. And so I look into it. Sure enough, it's not on the schedule. And I reach out to our management company, who at this time now ends up being the same management company as Steph and Aisha Curry. Well, really Aisha Curry's management company. So we share managers at the time. And they got a note from the network that they were pulling, or they dug into it and found out that the network pulled our show from air. So we just, you got to understand where we're at as a company now. We just put all of our resources, the sale of my landscape company and all of our resources into shooting this show that by all expectations was going to be a huge hit.
Yeah, and it is the business plan is that this is going to drive all of our future sales, and again, that's the idea.
Yeah. And so when we had build budgets for our clientele, we would blow those budgets because we wanted to shock and awe.
You're doing the wow thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to give 100% and even more than what I can to make sure that I give the best product for a nationally televised and actually throughout the world televised, show that we get 8 episodes of. It was called Playhouse Masters, by the way. You can still go look it up, go give it a thumbs up, whatever. Yeah. If you see this podcast. And so the show gets pulled and we're sitting here with very few leads. I had staffed up to probably 15 people at this time. And the reason why I had to staff up is because we had incredibly tight timelines to build these, stop multiple times to film.
Yeah, it's not efficient.
Like it's like quiet on set, something funny or something happened. We need to shoot this from another angle. Oh, we need to shoot it from, 3 or 4 angles, because you can't just be a static shot on something. So our labor costs are exploding because we're having to work overtime. We're having to shoot things multiple times. Nothing was fabricated on it. Very
as much as you can in television.
Yeah, some storylines, like essentialize for the show, but like the real things that actually matter, like something that happens or interactions, all real, right? Like they just basically are there, and now they just try to get a storyline out of it. So at this time now, we have all this debt from what we were building. We didn't really have clients. And remember, I wasn't filming or capturing anything. So now I didn't have marketing material. And if you want to just top that all off, my wife was severely sick at that time, where, like she was not able to do anything. And I had, 3 young kids. And so if there's ever a time in my life where I felt like I was completely handcuffed and I didn't have control of what was going to happen in my life, it was at that time. That was
that moment.
Right after
peak is here.
Yeah, right after you all saw me on the top of the world.
Yeah.
I'm having the toughest time. Like my wife is going to go buy groceries and she can't even afford to pay for the groceries, and she had someone in the lineup pay for the groceries. Meanwhile, I'm delivering Playhouses to...
Yeah, you guys look on the surface like you're just killing it. In the background, you're just getting hammered. And this is the entrepreneur, like, man, this story, I've read this story, I've heard this story dozens and dozens of times, like by all kinds of different entrepreneurs, because it can look amazing, or, and we get this all the time, is like we make a wowing experience, we do a strong brand, we put out a really great image, but they're not seeing what's going on under the surface. They don't understand the debt loads that you're going through, the risks that you've taken, how hard it actually genuinely is to make a profit in business, regardless of what you're doing. Like you can have a celebrity buying it, but there's still a margin. Right. And it's just, it's a tough game. And when you go inexperienced into a skyrocket like that, the next side of it can be equally as hard down.
And it's incredibly painful. Once you experience those highs, the lows feel lower, because you're used to people circling around you and being there for you and wanting to get on this ride with you. And then it crashes, and most, not all of them, but most people is crickets all of a sudden.
No, they don't want to be there for the ugly part.
No.
Yeah, and then there you sit in the dark trying to figure out all your problems.
Yeah. So, that was like a big lesson for us. And to understand, like the types of people that we want to circle ourselves with are the people that are there for us in the highs and the lows. Hopefully in the lows first before the highs.
Yeah. Again, interesting experience for sure. And again, a lot of the celebrity type people are these business owners who are like in the limelight type people. A lot of them say that exact thing. You weren't there when I was down at this point. You weren't there when the work was being done, but then all of a sudden we're friends when the opportunities come and when you can get something out of it. It's a struggle, like of the celebrity status type thing, is like people want to be there when the cameras are on, and then when the real work happens, then where are they?
Yeah. But I'll say, like, bringing it back to, the branding and how to build a brand. Right from day one, it was super important to me that I gave the best product that I had the ability to do, and that I did it over the top. And so, we're at the part of the story where I'm feeling the pain of that, right? And the question is okay, I believe in this company. I believe in what we're doing, that there's a market for it and a demand for it. but will I be able to survive long enough to be able to reap the benefits of it?
To come out the other side.
Right. Or will I give up before we make it to that place in our company where it stabilizes?
Yeah. It's so relatable for anyone who's been in business. Again, and everyone has a different story, but everybody who's had a business ever has those moments of like, am I going to keep going now? Right? Like you get your down period or your downturn or your challenge or your lawsuit or, whatever it be. There's a million hurdles in business of all different kinds, but everyone has to look in the mirror at some point and go, am I going to keep going or am I going to quit?
But here's the thing, Jory, I probably would have quit if I wasn't so committed to it that it would have made my life more miserable. Right? Like it was at that point where I was so financially committed to this and my company really became an extension of who I was, that if I allowed the company to crash, everything else in my life I feel like would have fallen apart. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. That's how I felt.
No, and I can totally relate to that at the moments. Like there were moments when my dad and I sat across from each other and went, are we going to keep doing this? Like when we're bleeding and going deeper and deeper into debt to survive through a tough period. And we're just going like, do we pull it now when it's not as bad as it could be? Or do we keep going and believe we come out the other side? And it was just like, well, we can't, like all the people you're going to let down, your marriage, your relationships, your people who are invested in you, people whose jobs and paying their own mortgage payments and their paychecks are all looking at you and relying on you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you just can't bring myself to quit.
Well, and I was raised by parents who had high integrity, and my wife was as well. Both have fantastic, amazing parents. And for me to go and say, hey, sorry, all of you vendors and people that I work for, I'm not going to pay you back what I owe you. Like that would have killed me because I tried to be like my parents taught me to be. And I know my wife does as well. And so there was just like no ability to quit at that point. It was like, okay, how am I going to solve this? Fortunately, at that time, I had a great individual who was one of those people who was a good friend and someone who was really had high integrity, a great person who loaned us some money. We had another business venture together and we sold that company and dumped that money into Charmed. And that gave us, some strength to continue to push forward. Riding it. Really it was just his confidence in us saying, you know what, if you lose the money, it's going to be okay. But I believe in you and I believe in your wife. I believe in what you guys are doing. Take that and put it into your company. And he didn't put any expectations on it, right? Great. Like we didn't have contract agreements about it or anything. He just trusted me.
He believed in you.
Yeah. And so that was one more thing that added to like I'm not going to let this thing fail because I'm not going to let all these people down.
Yeah. It's so similar. It's crazy similar.
Yeah.
Because when we were kind of at the pit of despair in our trucking business in the early days when it was just that, there were friends of my dad who loaned us money with no collateral, with no security, nothing, just handshake deals and hundreds of thousands of dollars just handed over that helped make us through.
Yep.
And those guys are still invested in us today and still make really good money on their investment.
But
at that time, and they should, but at that time, that was a very risky for them.
Totally.
Very risky.
Totally is.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was also an integrity thing. They believed in my dad and more so in my dad at the time because I was young in the business, but that his integrity was that strong that they knew no matter what he would give his every breath and protect that with everything because they believed in him and what he was doing.
Yeah.
Same sort of like very similar type of situation. Yeah. And we needed that to get through and it's what got us through those years. And now, we can clap at ourselves in our success, but you needed those people that believed in you and were willing to invest at that time.
Well, and so things like that have happened to me as well, right? Like I just explained. But there's also other things, like it feels like customers have shown up at the correct time, right at the 24th hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Where it's like, all of a sudden I have like this big contract that comes in and I get a deposit on what I'm building, and it keeps us alive for another 30, 60 days. Right.
It's hard. Provision for sure.
It's hard to explain how many times that's happened. And it's funny because now those experiences of like not having money when I need money have built a confidence in me that it's going to arrive when I need it.
Yeah.
As long as I'm being ethical and doing what I believe I should be doing, I'll be taken care of.
Yeah. It's so true. Again, parallel perfectly. Yeah. Okay. So from here, I want to segue kind of into like your vision for your company and what you learned through that time and where you're taking it now, because I know we've talked about it too, but the family nature of your business and the Playhouses versus your charmed resorts, and why you shifted that way and what you're building now that is really awesome. And I think people need to know more about.
Well, I mean, so this month is 10 years for our company, and the vision of where we're going with this company, I would say, has cleared up, because I had no clue I'd be doing what I am today, with not only building Playhouses. We're now 4 years ago, we started building resorts, right? So we started to, when I built this company, I wanted to be able to build something that families across the world could enjoy. Obviously now our Playhouses, at being 100,000, which is the low end of our Playhouses, and upwards to $1 million, is not accessible for the average person.
No, that's like the 1% of the 1%. Right?
Yeah, it's completely out of hand, right? Like, but it's a luxury product that not everybody gets to enjoy, right? And so that's where we started to create Charmed Resorts, which is adapting the Playhouses that we manufacture and building them in a way that they're rentable short-term rentals. And once again, this brings right back into like our brand and how we're doing this. We've had the opportunity to take that product and just go sell it to people and let them go rent out cottages. But the brand is always super important, because remember, at this point now, this is an extension of me and my family. Like, it nearly killed me to keep this company alive.
Yeah.
And so do I want just anyone taking my brand and representing it by having resorts with our cottages? No, I don't. I want this to be a high quality experience that is an extension of who we are as a family.
Oh, and your values, the culture, the brand, you got to keep control of that.
Totally.
Sure.
So that's where we started Charm Resorts. Now, obviously starting a resort company brings a whole load of problems that we can talk about some other time.
Yeah, completely new thing that you don't know how to do, but you're going to figure out.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, we went through a number of years where we dug ourselves out of the debt that we were in, and we were doing well. And then COVID hit. And right as COVID hit is when we launched Charmed Resorts. Now, some timing on that actually ended up helping us. But with COVID hitting, we lost millions of dollars worth of work. And so, we're getting into a new venture. And starting a new venture obviously is capital intensive. And we were not a wealthy family. We were probably a net zero family,
by the time you roll it around.
Yeah. Now we had dug ourselves out of debt. But once again, we dove into, okay, we believe that there is a place for the storybook inspired type of entertainment, and that our life is a story. our life is a story, and you have the opportunity to live in the story that you want, right? So when people come to our resort, we want them to basically act like they become a character within that story. And so it's super important to us that when we built our product and we built our resort, that it made people feel that way when they come through the gates. And so we just, we started building cottages. Like, did I have millions of dollars sitting around to go build cottages? No, I didn't even have hundreds of thousands, like.
Yeah. But you had the right vision and the right dream and the right brand to do it, and you figure out the rest. Yeah.
I mean, it was like, we're going to take care of the important parts. And to me, what was important is that I put out a product that was high quality, and that it was something that everybody could go enjoy. And so we built that first cottage, and we pre-rented it out. Simultaneously at the same time, we're still tapping into the media portion. And I think it was either a National Post or CTV National. I can't remember which one, but it was a national Canadian news outlet reached out and was like, hey, we've seen you guys have been doing lots of stuff over the years. Can we write a national story about you guys? And I said, well, we're actually doing this. We're still building Playhouses, but there's a new
let's
thing.
Talk about this instead.
Let's talk about the resorts. And so they wrote this story, and I knew that it was going to be coming out. I can't remember when it came out exactly. It might have been January or February, but I knew it was coming out. And so we quickly rushed to build a website where people could rent our stuff. My cottage wasn't even built. I was still trying to figure out my location and everything. I had an idea of the location, but we opened it up for bookings right before that story came out. And the story came out, and they showcased it beautifully, our cottage and our Playhouses, and told what we're doing now. And it booked over $100,000 in the matter of like a couple of days a week.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Right. So now I have a little bit of capital that I can keep investing in things. And I'm like, this is kind of like back in the day with Steph Curry and with TLC. I'm like, man, doors are opening up for us.
Yeah, I can taste the momentum.
Yeah, like that high that I was feeling before. Let's get back to there. I miss that. And so that's how Charmed Resorts and the brand behind Charmed Resorts was born. Was really just by going and doing something, not completely planning it out.
Yeah, but taking it as it comes and the right things happening at the right time. It can imagine the magical kind of provision and doing things. I love that focus that you had, is like, hey, I'm going to do it the right way, and I'm going to stay focused on the right experience, and I'm going to give my absolute best quality stuff out, and I'm going to focus on our brand and our vision and make sure that's all right, and then believe that other things are going to come in line after, that people are going to want our product. Right. And there's some nice timing things with like news articles and TV shows and all that kind of stuff too. But like it's a belief that I say it all the time, build it and they will come kind of perspective. It's like, I know what I got is good and that people are going to want it. Other people might tell you you're crazy. Or nobody does it.
I've heard that lots.
Perfect. Oh yeah, lots of that, right?
Yeah.
Like when we were building this building, you're just like, what in the heck are you guys doing over there? That's ridiculous. It's crazy. People go, trucking companies don't do this, right? And it's like, yeah, exactly. Like exactly.
Yeah.
And so you do that wowing, that unique, that super niche, super cool, high, like give it your full ability to just show what you can really do, and then people show up.
Yeah, and I know you guys understand it. I mean, like, when you go tell your accountant or your banker that you want to go build basically a transformer on the front of your building, they're like, why?
Yeah. How is that going to make profit? You don't get it.
Show me how much money that's going to bring in. Yeah. Like you can't necessarily quantify that.
You can't quantify it for sure. And that's the unquantifiable thing where you just got to believe.
But what's funny is the reason why you and I connected was because I saw that you produced a social media video on that a truck on the front of your building. And I was like, I love that building. That's really cool. I didn't know that they built commercial buildings, right? Like, cause, Evan's, development.
Yeah.
I had no clue. You guys were already trucking my stuff for me.
Yeah.
And doing a great job at it. And so as soon as I saw that, it's like full circle moment where, you know, people were asking me to either landscape or build a playhouse for them because they knew I had the ability. Now I'm like, yo, Jory knows how to build a really cool building. I should reach out to them about it.
And then it opens the door. And that's like, again, that's how marketing works. But there's a whole nother layer to that is that whole, like the best that I can do, the most interesting, the most unique, the thing that if people say I'd be crazy for doing it, I probably should do it.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's the wow.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys, what you guys do is wow. Everything you guys do is wowing, and it's interesting, and it's unique, and it's family oriented, and it's a really, really great brand that you guys are building. And I know I was surprised because when we started trucking for you guys and then started talking about buildings and that kind of stuff, my wife had been following you guys for years.
Oh, funny.
I didn't even know. I'm just like, oh, I'm meeting with this. She's like, Charmed? You guys are meeting with Charmed? Like, she was like almost starstruck.
Jory, it's time to loosen the purse strings.
Yeah. I was like, and she's like, well, yeah. Thankfully my kids are, I'm going to say now. My kids are too old.
You
for
can now be
Playhouses,
friends with me because your kids are too old.
Yeah, we couldn't talk before then because I couldn't afford it. But no, it's a great, and the brand and the vision and that is the thing that I've loved getting to know you and your guys' company about is that is what I love about what we do, and what I do is being the visionary and building the brand and doing something unique and wowing. That it's not about, we all got to make a living and profit. But that's not what it's about. Mm-hmm. It's about doing, like, having an impact on the world that changes things or makes things different or affects families or creates good jobs for people. I know your guys is in the background, inner works in your company is about building families and about your people growing their families and growing their situations and improving their lifestyles and all that kind of stuff too. I know from talking and designing your guys' buildings, the ideas you have that you're trying to make your employees' life better as an employee of your company, and that aligns value-wise with what we do. Right. And so it's been so great seeing that and getting to know it. But it's a very fun thing to see a company that's done it totally a different way, where your guys' brand and your scalability and your virility first blew up, and then you had to figure it out after.
Yeah. I mean, for us, like I can confidently say from the beginning to where we are today, it hasn't been about the money for us. Mm-hmm. Would I really like to have money where it's not ever a problem? That'd be great.
Yeah.
But I make a lot of decisions in my life to keep myself poor.
Yeah. Because of the vision and the mission of what you're doing.
Like it is super important to us that I built a company that is sustainable for not only me, but my family, because my wife works in it. My kids work in it as well. Mm-hmm. But also all those people that have been incredibly loyal to us over the years, that I build a company that is comfortable for them and their families and make their lives better as well. I didn't talk about earlier when, one of the hardest days that I had was after filming our show and it getting canceled and all that, having to walk in and go lay off a bunch of my staff. Right. And I think I have a staff member or two that I had to lay off twice and brought him back. And, I'm not going to be like a poor me moment, because like that sucks for those people that I had to lay off, but it was like a necessity at the time to keep the business surviving.
For the best of other people as well.
I wasn't going to rack up a bunch of, labor and not pay them for it.
Yeah.
Right.
We, as entrepreneurs, there's things you have to do at times that are, some people, there are casualties to it, but it is you made decisions that were the best for the greater good of the group, not for yourself.
And you'll still be a bad guy.
People.
You'll still be the bad guy.
You're still the bad guy. Right?
And you know what? Like, that's a hat we have to wear at times.
Yeah, we have had 2 times where I've had to do not necessarily layoffs, but we decided to go, rather than layoffs, with a universal pay cut across our entire staff, where people hurt or people couldn't afford to do that or whatever the situation be. But we decided to take a hurt over the entire organization in different levels. And again, I'm not going to go into it, but the point was is that I had to make a decision that was hard for everybody, but I made that decision and chose to be the bad guy for the greater good of all of them keeping their jobs, all of them getting their paychecks, and making sure that we paid our bills and had integrity in how we did business. And sometimes that looks like being a bad guy.
Yeah. And when you're building a company or a brand, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, right? And, but it's just like, okay, let's not try to hide those mistakes. Let's try to correct them with what's in our power and continue to push forward.
Yeah. With authenticity and integrity and the best that we can. Like we can only do the best that we can do at any given time. Right.
Yeah. So you probably want me to bring this back to like what we're doing to build our brand.
Yeah, that too. And obviously you guys have 2 resort locations, so I'd like to share a little bit about that. But yeah, let's bring it around to your brand and what you built and why you built it. And
yeah. So, I mean, I explained earlier that it's like very much part of who I am now. Like when people say charmed, it feels very much like the same. They're talking about our family because we put so much into it. Right from day one of our company till now, we've always tried to throw out on social media authentically what is happening, with the exception of the time when we were filming because we couldn't really put much out there.
Yeah.
But we have consistently, just captured like the cool builds that we're doing or where we're traveling to or what we're doing or what we're working on. And anytime that we have put content out there that is authentic and unfiltered, it has become easily our most our highest rated content that has also built our brand. And we analyze this often, like why do people follow Charmed and interact with us? And I think it comes back to when we're authentic with what's going on in our lives and what our dreams and aspirations are. When someone through the screen sees that, they instantly relate with you. Or if they don't, they move on, right? And they don't follow your journey.
Yeah.
But they start to relate with you and they start to understand what makes you tick. They may have similar aspirations or dreams or some crossovers. And so now they become invested in what you're doing and how you're doing it, because they're wanting those little nuggets to be able to do that themselves in one way or the other, whether it's they want to have that great experience that you just showcased on your social media, or they want to go build a business, or they want to have that family life, whatever it is, whatever you're showcasing, they now feel like you're more relatable. And so as you consistently put that information out there authentically, because we all have BS radars, right? Yeah. So if it's not authentic, it's not going to draw that actual support. It makes your ability to be able to go grow a company and grow a brand actually a lot easier.
Yeah, your authenticity. People want to do business with people, right? They want to connect with you. They want to know you. And I agree 100%.
They don't care about a multinational company that has the ability to sell, a ton of product. What they care about is the people who are driving that and, really getting behind what their mission, visions, and values are as a group of people.
Yeah. Well, and you can argue that too in a lot of different ways with these big corporations. You can, if you want to go down the sports, you can say Nike or, these brands. But do you know what these brands have done to grow big? They've connected with people. Yeah. What shoe sells the most shoes for Nike?
Jordan.
Well, why? Because it's a person.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because people relate to him and connect with him and they want to be like him or whatever the reasons are. It's the person behind the brand that people connect with.
We saw his successes and failures, right? We saw what he went through to get to where he got to, and we wanted to support him.
Yeah. And so it's like, you could always point to the brands that really like go big and make it. What's the person that people connect with that is the reason why they buy? Right. For sure.
Yeah. And it translates not only to your customer base, but it also goes right to your staff and the people that you work with, right? Like if you don't get buy-in from your staff and the people that work with you, these people over here who consume your product are going to see right through you eventually, right?
So I guess to kind of surmise or assume kind of where you're going with that too is that in building your company and hiring people and leading your staff, being authentic with them and leading like with your heart on your sleeve and being honestly who you are with everybody has been your leadership style or part of your leadership success.
Yeah. And I mean, when you do that, obviously like there's going to be times that it's hurtful because people won't want to do business with you because they're not aligned with you.
Yeah.
Right. Or, or you won't have the customers that
well, and I'm not for everyone and you're not for everyone, but there is a lot of someones out there that I align with that I can connect with and who I like and have similar values to, who might like what we're doing. Yeah. And same with you guys. And so it's really cool to see that. And the more I see it, and the more, well, there's a reason you and I connected because we both like that authenticity. I like to be the same person at my office as I am at church or at my family gathering or out in the world. And it doesn't matter where I go, being a different person at each place, it didn't work for me. I am who I am, where I am, and the same all the time.
Too exhausting.
And it's too exhausting, and you can't build something that's truly amazing and do that too, because you can't, like the chameleon thing is just too much. Yeah. And then and the BS radar, like you said, people see right through it. Yeah. They're looking for genuine on it, especially in the day of AI and fake everything everywhere. People are looking for authenticity.
You can maybe get through with BS for a while, but like those people eventually,
get found.
People figure them out.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, oh, I knew they were BS the whole time.
Of course, everyone knows in hindsight, 2020.
But eventually it comes out.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool, Tyson. Well, this has been a great conversation. I learned a ton of stuff I didn't even know about your guys' journey, and that's been super fun for me to enjoy. And I'm sure that people listening to this are going to enjoy that too. And people who are in the midst of their own journeys and their own battles of being an entrepreneur and a boss, and whether it be at cloud 9 or at the very bottom of the darkest moment, it's good to connect with people who've been through it and understand, hey, this too shall pass, or it's worth it in the end, or all those types of things that we need to sometimes just have someone affirm for us, and in us as entrepreneurs. It's a hard life choice to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. I mean, we've often talked like if we knew what we knew now and we had to repeat it, would we have the strength to go do it again? Probably not.
Yeah.
We'd probably like, I'll choose something else to do.
Yeah. Well, and that's that whole is it worth it thing. Like in hindsight, you can look at it and see what you went through and you didn't know what you were up against at that time. But it's like, man, when I was asked that once I was talking to a bunch of young guys that are early in business and they're like, well, like, how hard is it really to do what you've done? I'm like, way harder. You have no idea. You couldn't possibly imagine how hard it's.
You don't want to talk him out of it.
No, but at the same time, you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it, but it's like how hard you think it is. It can always be harder, and it always will be harder for you at some point.
Yeah.
But you got to believe in yourself, and you got to be willing to put in the hard work, and just take whatever comes your way, and know that you're gonna get through it.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it all the time. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Right? Like, no matter what business it is or what you're doing in your life, if you're doing something that's worth talking about, it's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard for sure. Cool. Well, I guess I'll wrap that up and just say thanks for coming out. I appreciate you spending the time on the podcast with us. And it's been super great getting to know you guys and your business. And I look forward to all the things we can do together and around each other, and watching you guys continue to grow and expand Charmed Resorts. Your guys' next phase is the little that I know about it. It's super exciting, and you're going to continue to have a way bigger impact than you even have now. And that's so cool.
The little we know about it too. We think it's going to be great.
I do. I'm sure it could be and will be, but what do I know?
We're taking it day by day, trying to figure it all out. We want it to be perfect.
Yeah. So. No kidding. Thanks, Tyson.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.